We get questions all the time about exactly what ADHD coaching is and how it actually looks and what it looks like behind the scenes. And part of this is because there's a lot of ADHD coaches and we all do things a lot different. So when I tell you that our coaching is based on behavior analysis, what that means is that we are constantly looking at behavior science so that we can help people build strategies, build habits and routines, and we utilize positive reinforcement. We try to help people avoid punishment in their environments and do it in a very compassionate and forward-thinking and accepting way. So today, what we are going to do is, as you all know, I am the primary coach, and then I also have other coaches. And so one of my coaches has taken the time to pull together all of the questions that we have gotten in the last 6 months from our podcast, from our DMs, and she has read them for me. And so I'm going to go through and I'm going to answer them in this video for you so you can know all the things. Okay, so number one.
What exactly is college ADHD coaching?
College ADHD coaching is a weekly partnership that helps students build the executive functioning skills that they need to manage college independently. So things like time management, things like planning and task initiation and emotional regulation and follow through. It's not tutoring. It's not therapy. It's literally skills, structures, and strategies on accountability and life skills. We have 2 levels or intensities of college ADHD coaching. We work with students one-to-one. That is a very intensive coaching relationship where we have at least 1 session a week where we talk to them. And then we also follow up sometimes daily through text message or email. Sometimes we actually have to do more than 1 session a week. It just depends on the student's needs and it kind of ebbs and flows throughout the semester. And so that is our most intensive service. And then we also have a less intensive service, which is a group program where students have access to expert coaches at the same time as other students do. And so if you want to think about it like almost like a high school study hall or a, office hours with a professor. And so there are certain times of each day, at least 4 days a week. 2 of those days are specified to help them plan their weeks and also do body doubling and get started on assignments. And then the other days are just to help them follow through and have an anchor point in their day when they know that they can sit down and do some body doubling and some assignment work. And then we are there if they get overwhelmed with an assignment to help them break things down, to help them use different tips, techniques, tools to get started and continue going on. So that's a little bit about what our services actually look like.
How is ADHD coaching different from therapy or tutoring?
This is a great question and we get it all the time. So therapy helps with emotions, with trauma, with anxiety or mental health specifically and solely. Tutoring helps with academic content, so math, chemistry, writing, and coaching helps with the skills that make college work. So planning their week, prioritizing, starting their task on time, managing that overwhelm and staying organized. So coaching fills the gap that neither therapy nor tutoring covers and brings intensity to actually follow up and get traction with it throughout the week. Most therapists you will see once a week at the most. And so they don't have time to check in throughout the week to make sure that the student is applying those strategies. Whereas in our coaching program, that's what we do.
Why do some students struggle in college even if they did well in high school?
This question is one that I really want to talk about because I want to normalize for you the fact that there are a lot of students who did really well in high school and then struggled in college. So high school is super structured, it's supervised, and it's full of reminders. And if you're saying to me, but I don't remind my student, no. But if you think about environmentally, high school is an environment that is literally built with tons and tons of cues about the things that they need to do. So they go to the class every day or at least a couple times a week. And the teacher has in place routines within his or her classroom to make sure that the students know what to do at what time. And so just like in our home, pretty much the house quiets down at a certain time and kids go to bed, or, we eat meals at the same time, or when we get up in the morning, their medicine is in the same place. Maybe mom and dad prompt and ask, hey, did you take your medicine? Their bathroom has been laid out the same way as it was since the time they were in middle school. So the environment is actually full of all sorts of cues and reminders of its own, even if it's not a parent reminding the student. And so when you take those environmental cues and you take kids out of them, then they have to create that environment for themselves, which can really tax executive functioning skills and make academic tasks even harder. The other thing that we're going to talk about with this, and it's going to be a controversial opinion and it may hurt some feelings, but there's a lot of grade inflation in U.S. high schools. And especially post-COVID, what I am finding is that a lot of these students are allowed multiple opportunities to achieve academic mastery. And so a lot of them don't have many exams where they are required to actually study material, master that material to fluency, and then take an exam without any notes, without any prompts, without any help. And since COVID, there are a lot of high schools that allow multiple opportunities, or they have completely changed the structure to where all of the work is done during class and there aren't very many grades that require independent mastery of that knowledge. And so when you get into the college setting, you have kids that have always done well in academics by not having to put forth a lot of individual effort and a lot of individual effort in mastering complex material. And they don't have the skills to do so. And then when you couple that with the fact that they've been given a lot of different chances on assignments and exams and tests, in their academic career, then they really don't know how to handle that. And it can kind of be a recipe for disaster. I also am a college professor at a local community college, and I see this with my students all the time. And so I teach online courses. And so our weekly quizzes obviously end up being open book, open note, because that's the nature of the beast, right? And their midterm and their final exams are proctored online exams where they have to either go into the university or they have to prove that they are not using notes or tests. And the class average on those quizzes will be A's, obviously. And the class average on the tests where they actually had to master the material on their own, even when they are told that they're going to have to do this, so they're prepared for that, is in the 60% range. And so I just want parents to understand that it is a different set of standards in high school and even throughout the classes in college. And then when those big, heavy grades come around, they don't necessarily have the skills or the understanding of what's going to be required for them to master that knowledge. When you couple this environment with the fact that most of these kids are 18 years old, and the growth and development stage that they're in is that they are certain that they know pretty much everything. They're pretty much experts on the world. If you ask them, it is very hard to get across to them that they may not have the skills that they need and that they need to master a new set of skills before they actually hit that failure point. And so this is why we see students struggle that did very, very well in high school and then they struggle when they get to college. And then there's another layer. So with ADHD students, if they had accommodations in high school, some of the very accommodations that got them into college may not be available in the college setting, or may not be facilitated in the same way. The laws are different between high school and college and what is required. And many parents assume that because there is a 504 law that applies in college, that it's the same 504 law that applied in high school. But the truth of the matter is the laws are completely separate, have completely different implications. And what colleges are actually required to do to accommodate students is not very much when you consider it to what was done in K through 12. I have a whole entire parent workshop that talks about that and how to prepare for that. But that is those are some hot takes on why students that did very, very well in high school may not do well in college right off.
What changes when a student with ADHD goes from high school to college?
So kind of to summarize that and wrap that up is in college, there's no one there reminding you. The assignments aren't all listed in one place. The deadlines overlap. The routines disappear and depend on students to create them for themselves, and the time expands and evaporates at the same time. For ADHD students, that shift is overwhelming without real support. Many parents assume that ADHD students just don't have enough time in their day, but the truth of the matter is a lot of times they have too much time and they don't know what to do with unstructured time.
What does executive functioning really mean, and why does it matter in college?
So executive functioning is your brain's management system. It controls planning, prioritizing, focusing, switching tasks, managing emotions, and getting started. And in college, weak executive functioning skills, not intelligence, is the number one reason why students fall behind. Some of our smartest students will struggle in college.
Why don't accommodations alone solve the problem for ADHD students?
Accommodations can remove some barriers, but they don't actually teach skills. Extra time doesn't help if a student never starts the assignment. Audiobooks don't help if they can't plan out their week to make time to actually listen to the material and take notes, or if they don't have the skills to take notes. And accommodations can support access, but coaching actually supports the execution in the college setting. You need to understand that accommodations on the college level are only legally required to grant access. There's no success barrier. And we talk a lot about that in our From Home to Campus workshop.